Hello everybody, welcome back to the OCD Illustrated channel. This video is in the Facts to Know category because it provides basic information about OCD, and we are continuing to discuss obsessions, which are unwanted repetitive thoughts, images, or urges that cause significant amounts of distress. Using a Venn diagram, I am going to contrast obsessions, and I mean obsessions in the obsessive compulsive disorder way, not I'm so obsessed with Justin Bieber way, versus fantasies. And the reason that I am doing this video now is that the next videos in my series on obsessions are going to be talking about graphic intrusive thoughts, and it's important for you to understand the difference between a thought that somebody enjoys and seeks out and a thought that somebody finds really distressing, and that's the exact difference between fantasies and obsessions. So let's start off with what overlaps. In short, the content. Obsessions and fantasies can both cover similar topics like death, sex, various forms of violence towards people, animals, or objects, or an individual's sexuality. Okay, so obsessions are ego dystonic, which is a really big term that just means it doesn't match with somebody's sense of self. Whereas fantasies are egosyntonic. The thoughts align with how somebody imagines themselves to be. I'm going to go on to describe in more concrete terms the difference between a thought that is ego dystonic, an obsession, and a thought that is egosyntonic, or a fantasy. When someone's having repetitive thoughts that are egosyntonic and are fantasies, those thoughts are enjoyable to think about. It's like daydreaming. The person is seeking out those thoughts and experiencing them as pleasurable. Whereas someone who's having an ego dystonic obsession, experiencing the thought is really distressing. The person does not want to go in depth about what this thought is. They want it out of their head as soon as possible. Somebody who's fantasizing about something has a wish to do it. They may have enough self-control to not actually do it, but they think it would be enjoyable. While someone who is having an obsession is thinking, I never want to do that thing in a million years. It is their worst nightmare. When someone is fantasizing, they often like writing or drawing or reading or listening or watching videos about the thing that they're fantasizing about. For someone with an obsession and OCD, it's the absolute opposite. The person is avoiding doing or seeing or saying or thinking about anything that reminds them of the intrusive thought. So this is more along the lines of somebody saying, I won't look at anything red because it reminds me of blood. Somebody engaging in a fantasy can imagine themselves being okay if that fantasy came true. It's also often an active process where the person feels like they are playing an active role in the fantasy. While somebody with an obsession is experiencing it much more passively. The thought is intruding into their consciousness. And the person with the obsession often feels that they wouldn't be themselves if the obsession were true, or that they would be a horrible person if the obsession were true. It just really doesn't match with their sense of self. So now I'm going to use this chart to explore two specific thoughts and how they could be a fantasy or could be an obsession. Okay, so take the thought, I imagine strangling my cat when I pet her. Somebody who's fantasizing about this enjoys thinking about strangling their cat. They pet their cat and their hand lingers at the cat's neck and they imagine squeezing, and they like that. They might watch videos about animals being injured, and for them it's really a daydream. This is somebody that you can go ahead and think Criminal Minds and Psychopathic Triad. That's somebody having a fantasy. So let's compare that to somebody with OCD who's having an obsession about strangling their cat. This person loves their cat and enjoys spending time with their cat and is horrified that these thoughts of strangling their cat keep popping into their head. They think it makes them a horrible person. They're concerned that they might actually do it, so much so that they may avoid their cat or may even try to get somebody else to adopt their cat in order to ensure the cat's safety. So the second thought I'm going to talk about is the thought, what if I'm gay? Or possibly, what if I'm straight? Or what if I'm a vampire? But what if I'm gay? For somebody that is really trying to figure out whether or not they're gay, there's at least some part where they can see themselves taking those actions and having sex with the same gender, and that maybe it will feel right. For someone who's obsessing about it, it's ego dystonic. They're concerned that they're gay even when they're married in a straight relationship. You know, they maybe are avoiding looking at people of the same gender because it brings up this question of maybe I'm checking them out and maybe I'm gay. They might be avoiding dressing in a way that somehow connotes typical gayness. It's really an unpleasant thought for them. And that's all she wrote, folks. Please keep these differences between fantasies and obsessions in mind whenever somebody with OCD is talking about a violent or graphic obsession, because the worst feeling in the world for somebody with these obsessions is to work up the courage to tell somebody and then have the person think they're dangerous, when really the person with the obsession is less likely than anybody else to ever act on these thoughts that they hate. Thank you for watching this video, and if you have any questions, please get in contact.